Okay guys, we're heading into crown molding week, I hope. First step of the crown molding is got to get it painted. I started out with this Valspar Ultra, and I don't know, I painted one stick of crown molding and I wasn't happy with the performance. It seemed like the paint was globbing up a lot. So I thought, well, I've had trouble with Valspar. Best I can remember in the past, I had something that bubbled one time. The wall paint Valspar is good, but it was the white, the trim paint. This was many years ago, so I jumped in the car. I went to Sherwin-Williams, got a gallon of their bright white trim paint. Came back, started painting with it. It might have been a little better, not enough to take the Valspar back. So I switched back to the Valspar. Long story short, it was operator error. So what I'm doing is I get it started here, and it's real thick when it goes on, and it takes a lot of paint to cover. It's just completely different to me than the wall paint. So normally I try to pull my paint all one direction, like going this way. Well, that wasn't working. I was leaving all these marks, if y'all can see those. So I kept working with it. But what I found works best is you get a good cover on it. Then I've got to pull everything back this way to get rid of all the brush strokes. So what I'm doing here is I'm building me a little jig, for lack of a better word, to hold my crown molding at the correct angle in the saw. I mean, with this little stuff in short pieces, I can hold it with my hand. It just where it's got two flat sides, it sits flush in here, and you just hold it and cut it. But I'm using 5 1/4, so it's heavier, 16-inch, 16-foot pieces. So I can't really, that's going to be really hard to hold, especially without help. So this is the way I was taught to do it years ago, probably about like 20 years ago, no, 21 years ago. Okay guys, this is my jig I was mentioning earlier. I went ahead and I went with the 2x6 here. I can set my trim in here. It pretty much holds itself, so I don't have to worry about holding it maybe a little bit on the longer pieces. I've extended it out so it'll give support to those 16-foot pieces. Should work pretty good. Y'all be seeing more of this in action as we go. But I'm about to start putting up my first few pieces of trim. And one thing I've learned, you don't want to just, all wood is kind of different. You don't want to just take your nail gun and start shooting this. I'm using MDF. If I go to shooting this and the pressure on my compressor is not right, I may just shoot it all the way through this and not even catch, or may not seat the nails correctly. They may be sticking out. You don't want to go through all the trouble of cutting this trim and then the nails be sticking out. So what I like to do is just get a scrap piece of wood and some scrap trim and just give it a shot and see what happens. So you can see it caught pretty good. So we are getting started putting up the crown molding. The way I was taught, the method I use is you have to put the crown up or cut it upside down. So you're looking at this piece of crown. This is the bottom and the top is down in the tray. So, okay, that's fine. I need to cut a 45 on this right end. No, you're not cutting the right end. It's upside down. So right is left, if that makes any sense. So, because when you're going to take it out, you're going to flip it over. So when you cut the right end in the saw, you're actually cutting the left end. And when you cut the left end in the saw, you're actually cutting the right end. So you've got to think left is right and right is left. So I guess this section here in the foyer is where I have the best lighting. I've got most of my crown run, as you can see. Let's go in here and I want to show you these different angles. Then I'll show you the cuts that have to be made to do that. And the easiest way I found to do them. Like you can see this wall right here, this angle we're looking at right there, that's a 45-degree angle. And the best way I can see it, it's an outside corner. You can see it pointed toward us. I don't know if you can see back in this right here. See those are they're inside corners. So the crown's cut different. These are both 45-degree angles, but that's an inside, and this is an outside corner. So once you figure out what angles you have, you just set your saw like these on 45 degrees, and they're all cut upside down as I mentioned earlier, but I can show you the cuts. And like right here, if you can see that little bitty crack right there. That's where I cut and pieced two pieces together, and I'll show you how that works and the way I found that they look the neatest and cleanest. And you know, you don't have to worry about it too much. See that crack right there? Caulk will fill that. The wise man once told me, save room for caulk. But you can, and the most important thing I found is like when you're putting up this crown, say this piece right here at the end. It goes from corner to corner. Cut it to the right length where it fits in the corners. Nail it in the middle. That way you can roll the corners. While you're putting it up, you can, in this right corner, these two pieces, leave a couple of feet on each end where you can tweak you can roll it against the wall, if that makes sense. That way you can get your angle to line up, and then once you get your angle, you're happy with it, then nail it. Like this outside corner here on the right, that's a 22.5. The one on the left is a 45. So you just have to remember to adjust your saw to the correct angle. And then you just have to determine if you've got an inside or an outside angle. So let's go look at those cuts. I know I didn't go real in depth into putting up the crown molding, but it was just a few tips and things that worked for me. I'm here at my saw, you know, don't forget, you gotta have your jig to hold your crown in there at the correct angle. Because basically it's got a flat part here and the flat side here. So this flat side, it goes against the wall. This flat side goes against the ceiling at the correct angle. And always you put it in there upside down to cut it. The jig holds it in place. But I was telling you about the different angles, like the inside corner. If you can see this, see that, how you can see that cut? That's what I call an open face cut. Open face cuts are for your inside corners. See how this goes together? You can see that. That'll fit in an inside corner, what I was just showing you. Now for an outside corner, it's just the opposite. See this? How you can't see your cut? Your cut's kind of behind it. That's for your outside corners. They're going to go together like so. It's kind of hard to hold it, but see how it makes a point? Try to get the best angle. That makes a point for your outside corners. So that's basically if you want an inside corner, you want to be able to see your cut. If it's an outside corner, you can't see your cut. That's the best way I can visualize it. And remember, you're in here upside down. So when you're cutting the right end, you're actually cutting the left end. And when you're cutting the left end, you're actually cutting the right end. So that's going to wrap it up for my little how-to on crown molding. But if you like this kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification icon, all that good stuff. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.